12 weeks. That's how long Elliot Lee will be watching from the sidelines instead of fighting in the championship trenches. One surgery, one decision. And suddenly, Wrexham's midfield options just got a whole lot thinner at the worst possible time. All right, Wrexham fans, if you love the Red Dragons like I do, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to tell you reveals a problem that's been brewing behind the scenes all season. Let's dive in. Phil Parkinson just confirmed what every Wrexham supporter feared. Elliot Lee is going under the knife and won't be back until February. 12 weeks out, 3 months on the treatment table. A championship campaign that's just starting to find its rhythm, and one of the most experienced midfielders in the squad is suddenly unavailable until deep into the winter months. Here's what makes this brutal. Lee's been suffering in silence. He's been carrying a knee injury all season long, trying to battle through it, refusing to give up on his team. Not a single championship appearance this campaign, because the pain wouldn't allow it. Just 3 League Cup matches where he tried to prove his fitness before his body finally said enough. Last week, Parkinson sent him for a second opinion. The specialist's verdict? Surgery. No choice. No more waiting. The only way Elliot Lee gets back to being the player Wrexham needs is to go under the knife and start the long road back. And he's not alone. Lewis Brunt, the young defender who was meant to provide depth at the back, is also facing a 3-month layoff with a thigh injury. 2 players, 6 months of combined absence, at a time when Wrexham are trying to establish themselves in the championship, and every point matters. This isn't just about squad depth anymore. This is about Wrexham's entire season trajectory. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Injuries like this can derail promotion pushes before they've even started. But to understand why this hurts so much, we need to go back to the summer and see how Wrexham built this squad.
Let's rewind to August. Wrexham had just achieved back-to-back promotions. The Hollywood dream was becoming reality. Reynolds and McElhenney sanctioned a £33 million spending spree to build a squad capable of surviving in the Championship. The emphasis was on experience. Championship-tested players who knew what this level demanded. Ben Sheaf from Coventry for £6.5 million. Dom Hyam from Blackburn for £2.7 million. Issa Kabore on loan from Manchester City. These weren't punts on potential, these were proven operators. But quietly, behind the marquee signings, there was a problem developing. Elliot Lee had picked up a knee injury. Nothing catastrophic, nothing that screamed emergency, just one of those niggles that footballers get. The kind you manage, you rest, you hope it settles down. It didn't settle down. Pre-season came and went. Wrexham were in the Championship, with genuine optimism around the racecourse. Wrexham were competitive. They were holding their own against clubs with decades of second-tier experience. But Lee wasn't featuring. Not in the league anyway. 3 League Cup appearances, that's all he managed. Parkinson trying to ease him back, giving him minute in less intense fixtures, hoping the knee would respond. Behind the scenes, Lee was doing everything possible to get himself right. Extra treatment, modified training, the kind of dedication that shows how much playing for Wrexham means to him. But football injuries don't care about dedication. They don't care about Hollywood backing or passionate supporters or a manager who needs options. They just exist, getting worse with every training session, every attempt to push through. The reality of Championship football is brutal. 46 matches from August to May. Barely any recovery time between fixtures. Physical battles every single week against strikers, wingers and midfielders who've spent years perfecting the dark arts of second-tier combat. For a player carrying a knee problem, it's a nightmare scenario. Every sprint is a risk, every tackle could be the one that makes it worse. Every match-day decision becomes a calculation. Can he last 90 minutes or will he break down after 60? Parkinson was in an impossible position. He's got a player desperate to contribute, a squad that needs depth, and a medical team telling him the injury isn't healing naturally. Week after week, hoping for improvement. Week after week, seeing Lee struggle. Meanwhile, Lewis Brunt was dealing with his own issues. A thigh injury that just wouldn't respond to treatment. Another young player watching from the sidelines while his teammates battle it out in the Championship. And here's the thing nobody talks about. Injuries don't just affect the players who are out. They affect squad morale. They affect tactical flexibility. They affect Phil Parkinson's ability to rotate his squad and keep everyone fresh across a 46-match season. Last week, it all came to a head.
The call was made. Elliot Lee needed a second opinion. You don't send a player for a second opinion unless you're worried. Unless the first diagnosis isn't giving you the answers you need. Unless you suspect that what you're dealing with is more serious than initially thought. The specialist examined Lee's knee, reviewed the scans, assessed the damage, and delivered the news that nobody at Wrexham wanted to hear. Surgery. No other option. Think about what that moment must have been like for Lee, 30 years old, in the prime of his career, playing for a club on the most extraordinary journey in English football, and being told he needs to go under the knife and miss 3 months of action. 3 months when Wrexham are trying to prove they belong in the Championship. 3 months when his teammates are fighting for points that could mean the difference between mid-table security and a relegation scrap. 3 months when Phil Parkinson desperately needs experienced midfielders to help manage the workload. The decision was made quickly. Get it done, get the surgery scheduled, start the recovery process, because the longer they waited, the worse it could get. Parkinson confirmed it publicly last week. No sugarcoating it, no media spin, just the cold, hard truth. Elliot's had surgery on his knee. He'll be out for 12 weeks, unfortunately, but it gives him the chance to get it sorted properly. There's that word, unfortunately, the understatement of the season. Because losing a player like Lee for 12 weeks isn't just unfortunate, it's a genuine blow to Wrexham's squad depth. But here's what Parkinson said next that reveals everything. It's been bothering him for a while, and he tried to keep going with it. But last week it got to the point where we sent him for a second opinion, and the specialist decided that for him to be right, he probably needed surgery. He tried to keep going with it. That's the kind of mentality that defines proper footballers. The willingness to play through pain, to sacrifice personal comfort for the team's benefit. But there comes a point where bravery becomes stupidity, where pushing through an injury makes it worse instead of better. And Wrexham, to their credit, made the right call. Don't risk long-term damage, don't gamble with a player's career. Get the surgery done, do the recovery properly, and have him back at full fitness when it matters most. But the timing, though, brutal.
Wrexham supporters reacted with a mixture of concern and pragmatism. Social media was filled with messages of support for Lee, but also questions about how Parkinson would manage without him. Get well soon, Elliot, was the overwhelming sentiment, but underneath it was the reality that Wrexham's midfield depth has just taken a serious hit. George Dobson and George Thompson are solid operators, but asking them to cover 46 championship matches without genuine backup is a massive ask. The local media, particularly The Leader, cover the news with their usual mix of factual reporting and community concern. This is a working-class Welsh town where the football club matters. When a player gets injured, it's not just statistics, it's personal. Parkinson's response has been characteristically measured. He's not panicking, he's not making excuses, he's simply acknowledging the reality and moving forward. That's the kind of leadership that's taken Wrexham from the National League to the Championship in 3 years. But here's what's really interesting. Ollie Rathbone is back from his ankle injury. He played against Cardiff in the League Cup, but was left out of the squad for the Coventry match. Parkinson was brutally honest about it. I chose George Thompson and George Dobson ahead of him on the bench. It's difficult because we have so many options in midfield. That statement tells you everything. Even with Lee and Brunt injured, even with 2 players facing 3 months layoffs, Parkinson still has options. Rathbone is fit and waiting for his chance. Josh Windass is in the form of his life after 3 assists against Coventry. The midfield isn't collapsing, it's just thinner than anyone would like. The dressing room response has been typical of this Wrexham squad. Danny Ward, still recovering from his dislocated elbow, is around the training ground offering encouragement. Andy Cannon, working his way back from an ACL rupture, is training on the pitch again. Jay Rodriguez is doing intensive gym work on his leg injury. This is a squad that understands adversity, that's been built on resilience, that knows how to deal with setbacks because they've been dealing with them since the National League days.
Here's the reality. Wrexham's season won't be defined by Elliot Lee's absence. It'll be defined by how they respond to it. 12 weeks means Lee should be back in early February. That's roughly 20 championship matches he'll miss. 20 opportunities for other players to step up and prove they deserve to keep their places even when he returns. For Ollie Rathbone, this is his moment. He's fit again, he's got championship experience, and Parkinson has just told him publicly that he needs to be patient and wait for his opportunity. Well, that opportunity just arrived. With Lee out until February, there are minutes available in midfield for someone willing to take them. This reminds me of how Wrexham handled adversity during their promotion seasons. When key players got injured, others stepped up. When the pressure mounted, they found a way. That's what separates clubs who achieve their goals from clubs who fall short when things get difficult. The Championship is relentless. By February, when Lee returns, Wrexham will know exactly where they stand. Are they fighting for automatic promotion, targeting the playoffs, ensuring mid-table safety? Lee's comeback could be perfectly timed for a final push, or it could be the boost that lifts them from mid-table mediocrity to something more ambitious. What happens next depends entirely on the players currently fit and available. Windass needs to maintain his form. Dobson and Thompson need to stay healthy. Rathbone needs to force his way into Parkinson's thinking. Because injuries are part of football, but how you respond to them defines your season. The good news? Danny Ward should be back by Christmas. Andy Cannon is progressing well. Jay Rodriguez is working towards a return. This isn't a crisis, it's a challenge. And if there's one thing Wrexham have proven over the past 3 years, it's that they respond to challenges. From non-league obscurity to championship resilience, from Hollywood glamour to treatment room reality. This is what being a Wrexham supporter means. Understanding that success isn't just about the wins on Friday nights. It's about how you deal with the setbacks on Monday mornings. Elliot Lee will be back. Lewis Brunt will recover. And when they return, they'll be stepping into a dressing room that's learned how to cope without them. That's the beauty of this club. We don't just survive adversity, we use it to become stronger. 12 weeks. It sounds like forever. But in the story of Wrexham Rise, it's just another chapter. Let me know in the comments how you think Wrexham cope without Lee. Is this Rathbone's moment to shine? Hit like if you're backing the Red Dragons no matter what, subscribe for more Wrexham content, and I'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Reds!